Good morning, everybody. So today I want to talk about overcoming worry, fear, and anxiety. I had recently done a message about anxiety to kind of just put the topic out there, but I've been continuing to pray about it, deal with it myself, and research really about what it takes to overcome and really what you have to do with your mindset to be able to do this. So to start with, there's a little story in Luke 10, verse 38 through 42. There's a story about two sisters, Martha and Mary. And basically, Jesus goes to their house, and Martha's busy getting everything ready. You know, she opened her home to people to come entertain them. And her sister Mary's sitting at Jesus's feet listening to what he has to say. But Martha's distracted because she's doing all the preparations, you know, for the meal for everybody. And she comes to Jesus and she says, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." And Jesus says, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her." So Jesus says, "Martha, Martha, only one thing is needed." So what is that one thing? Obviously, it's sitting at Jesus's feet, because he says that Mary is doing what should be done. And she's not worried and upset and distracted and going through all the stuff that Martha is. So when I started looking at this, the word anxiety actually means a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease. And so really, anxiety is what is produced by worry. So you wind up in a state of anxiety over the things that you're worried about. And then when you look at worry, worry means to give way to anxiety or to give into it. And it also means to allow one's mind to on difficulty or troubles. So if you're allowing your mind to dwell on difficulty or trouble, you wind up in a state of anxiety, and it's the source of anxiety. And then when I really started breaking down worry really is based in fear. And fear is also an emotion. It's an unpleasant or a strong emotion that's caused by an anticipation or an awareness of danger. So worry is based in fear of what will happen, fear of what could happen, fear of what has happened. We allow our mind to dwell on things, and then we work ourselves up into an emotional frenzy, which is what anxiety is, or even people get anxiety disorders or panic attacks because they've worked themselves up into a frenzy. So let's look at how Jesus is to deal with this. When you look at Philippians 4:6, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." Now, I'm a very practical person, and for me to be able to change and to learn how to obey the scriptures, it has to be practical. I'm also a visual person. So what helps me is to have pictures in my mind or things that help make it real for me. So in this scripture, he doesn't say, by worry and anxiety, present your request to God. When I thought about that, it was like, ouch. You know, is that what I do? Do I go before God? But when I go before him, am I doing it by worry and anxiety? Or am I presenting my request to him by what it says, by prayer and petition? And it says even doing so with thanksgiving. So fear is the culprit. And when you think about it, think about fear like a belt. You're wearing, again, I'm visual. You're wearing a belt of fear. And the two weapons, if you want to call it that you pull out from the belt to deal with your problems and deal with your difficulties and deal with your troubles are worry and anxiety. And you're pulling out the wrong weapons. You're pulling out the weapons of worry and anxiety out of your belt of fear, instead of what he says is that we should wear the belt of truth in Ephesians 6. And that's going to crush the fear, because the weapons you should be pulling out are prayer, petition, and thanksgiving. So you've got to think about how you're coming into your prayer time before God, because when you start thinking about it this way and start being practical with it, it's like, yeah, if I'm really focused on praying and petitioning him and not worrying and fearful, but trusting him and remembering who I'm talking to, remembering he is the one with all control. He is the one all understanding, all knowledge, all wisdom. He is the one that can bring peace in my life. He is the one that can fix the situation that I'm in. He's the one with the power to change everything. Then you start thinking, wow, why am I so worried? Because if he's able to do all of this, I just need to pray and petition, be thankful for whatever answer he gives me. What happens is that we're praying and petitioning, but we're worried because we're trying to control or bring about a certain outcome, instead of being thankful and trusting that God is going to bring the right outcome for us that he wants us to have. We don't like sometimes the outcome to the situations that God answers us. We don't like his answer, but really it's about coming to him, praying and petitioning him for the things that are on your heart, the troubles and the problems and the situations you're going through, and then thanking him and trusting that he's going to, because he is a perfect father, because he loves you, because you're his baby, because he will protect you. He will do what's right for you and by you. So what I realized when I thought about those definitions is it really comes down to two things. And I realized that people really are doing one of these two things. When I talk to people, or even with myself, when I'm dealing with fear, worry, and anxiety, when I really break it down, it comes down to two things. And the one definition that in worry is it says that or anxiety, it says we dwell on things. So people that dwell on things are people who are super hyper focused. They are vigilant. They are consumed by or overwhelmed by. They roll situations around in their head over and over in their mind. They're just literally eaten up by their situations. So those are people who dwell on situations or problems. Then you have those people who are distracted by things. And when you're distracted by things, you're one of those people who, you've heard of people say squirrel, the squirrel mentality. People who are distracted by things, that are people who are pew, 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 they can't concentrate, they can't take captive their thoughts, their minds all over the place, they're dragged away by their emotions. And so when I looked up the definition, to dwell on means to keep the attention directed at something. So that means super hyper focused on that problem, super hyper focused on what's going on. And then distracted by means having one's thoughts or attention drawn away so that you're unable to concentrate or give attention to something. So we are either keeping our attention directed at something other than Jesus, or we are having our attention drawn away and are unable to concentrate on Jesus. We're doing one of the two things. And so what that result is that when we are actually taking our eyes off of God, we're taking our eyes off of Jesus, our attention is divided. It's causing our mind to drift completely from the Lord to all these endless possibilities of what could go wrong. And so when you're divided, your loyalty's divided, your heart's divided, your attention's divided. So both of those things, dwelling on things and being distracted by things, cause division and cause separation from God, because from sitting at Jesus's feet. Like what Mary did. Mary sat at Jesus's feet. She wasn't distracted by the preparations like Martha was. She wasn't dwelling on all of her problems. She was totally sitting at Jesus's feet, focused on Jesus. Nothing was separating her. Nothing was pulling her away from God. And when you look at Matthew 6:25-34, it talks about us not worrying about our life like the pagans do. God says, I take care of all of that stuff. He says, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So worry and fear and anxiety keep us from seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness. It keeps us from being focused and laying our requests before him through prayer and petition and thanksgiving. So it seems like if we will deal what's in our minds, if we will deal with what we dwell on, so make the decision. So if you start feeling, and this is what I do, if I start feeling the feelings of anxiety, or if I start feeling the overwhelming sensation of worry or fear in my mind, I say, stop. What I need to do right now is pray. I need to petition God. I need to lay these requests before God. I need to focus on thanking God and getting my mindset on who he is, and asking him, because I know he's capable of helping me with this situation. And no matter what the difficulty is, or no matter what the struggle is, you want to do that, because if you dwell on the problem or are distracted by the problem, that's where the work comes in. That's where we're drug away. That's where we get caught up. That's where we get overwhelmed. So basically the key is to stop getting distracted by things in our lives, and to keep focused on Jesus, focused on his kingdom. And just to kind of throw this out there, when he says his kingdom, Jesus tells us in the scriptures that he came and set up his kingdom on this earth. It is here. Jesus has set up the kingdom. It is alive and well, and he has been made king. When he went to heaven and had the victory, he reigns from heaven, earth. His kingdom is here. He is inviting all of us to be a part of it here. And then when he comes back, he will reign again. And we will get to be a part of it then if we are living in it here. So we focus on him being king. Focus on what does it mean to be in his kingdom. How can I serve him today as my king? How can I honor him today as my king? How can I seek him today as my king? And then it says his righteousness. So I focus on his kingdom, him being king, him being in control, and how can I seek to do what's right before him, because he is king. So that's what it's talking about, focusing on seeking Jesus, his kingdom, his righteousness, because like Jesus said, that only one thing matters, and that's Jesus. And that's the kingdom he set up in this world that we all get to be a part of. And not allow ourselves to be drug away by worry, fear, and anxiety. And what happens is when your focus is right, when your mindset is right, when you've got your mind set on him and on things above, and even scriptures talk about taking captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. There's a reason why he talks about that with our mindset. We have to train our minds, no different than we train our bodies to exercise, to be healthy. We need to train our minds. And think about it this way, get the weight off of your mind. Get those troubles, those worries, those anxieties, lift those weights off of your mind by training your mind to be obedient to Christ, to seek him. In 1 Thessalonians 5:16, it says, rejoice always, pray ceaselessly, or constantly, pray constantly, give thanks in everything, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And this is what it's talking about doing. If you are praying ceaselessly, if you're constantly praying, constantly putting your request before God, constantly giving him thanks for who he is, for what he's done, for rejoicing always because of everything he's working out in your life, even when you're in a really horrible situation, and I've been there, you guys, I've been in really, really horrible situations, this works. It works if you keep your mind set on God and on who he is and what he can do. And when you're praying, test your heart, test your spirit. Am I praying with those weapons of anxiety and worry? Or am I praying with the weapons of prayer and petition with thanksgiving? So I hope this encourages you. I really, really hope this helps you guys, because I know in our society, one of the biggest things in our society is distraction. And I want you to understand distraction is a part of worry and anxiety, and it is not from God, and it keeps you from being focused on God. You can be in God and have the life that you desire with Him. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.